Welcome to Roll of the Dice, a Game Master's Guide to Better Role-Playing. I'm Dan.
And I am Lee, David, Ellie.
Thanks for your middle name. In this episode, we'll be talking about keeping the players on track, making sure the heroes get to the climax of the adventure or story.
Never let that game stall. Don't do it.
It's no fun when the game stops.
It's no fun. Everyone's just having a good time, and all of a sudden you, the GM, are like, what do we do next? Oh, what? Or the opposite.
It's a really awkward situation when the game stalls and everyone's just staring at the GM, waiting for him to say something.
Yep, I've had that happen to me where it's, hold on a second. And then you go and look at the book or something because you didn't remember a stat on somebody. And then and then people start talking about something else, maybe plotting to overthrow you. Like, oh, this guy sucks. Let's get another GM. Yeah.
You tie him up in the garage and we'll take over.
Take over, yeah. Who votes for Gary to be in charge? I do. Shut up, Gary. You don't get to vote. But
no one likes Gary.
No one likes Gary. But sometimes the players can stall too. They've run out of ideas on what to do, or they just simply don't know what to do because maybe you, the GM, forgot to tell them a key bit of information.
And sometimes, it's they're just missing the information, or they just don't know what to do because there's no information there for them to think about.
Yep.
They get to a town. There's no reason. They just got there to rest. They're traveling somewhere else, and they're just stuck there for a few days. You're like, hey, what do you want to do in this town? It's like, well, we don't know. We have nothing to do that we can think of.
Yep.
So then you have to kind of help them along and try to figure out what to place there, or
So you have to know your players. Sometimes you'll have one person that's kind of taking charge and they say, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to get supplies, going to do this, and then we'll head on. But sometimes you have players that are a little bit more quiet and they just want you to tell them what to do, kind of push them in that direction. So how do you deal with that?
How do you deal with that?
Let's see. Poke him with a cattle prod. Figure it out.
I mean, if you have nothing for them, you can always just, flash forward or push them forward to where you have events.
That's a perfect idea. Is just move it along and say, all right. You just kind of ask everyone, is it okay if I fast forward your travel to here? Great. Took care of that. Keep them on track that way. And most of the time, they're okay with it. You just kind of not have to role play having to do mundane things or like travel. Unless that's part of the adventure where it's more of a survival travel than it is like, say, by plane or by train or possibly automobile.
Well, sometimes it's like, to me, as like when I tried running a game, the hardest thing for me to place in the way of players and to keep the game going was to place mundane people for them to meet, or just situations where there's nothing really going on and you just have them sitting and talking to someone. Maybe there's a chance of something to happen, but unless you have an idea for it, it was really hard for me to just place them into an interaction that was just kind of a fun interaction that nothing happened.
Yep. And sometimes that can derail your story because you're improvising this and maybe you say something wrong and now this improv just add-on character has derailed the story and now they're saying, oh, well, actually, let's go this way now. This new character, NPC, said something like this, so we're going to head in that direction. And you're like, oh, no, that's not what I wanted you to do. I was trying to keep you on track and try to keep you entertained, and I kind of messed it all up.
And now you have to create a side adventure.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, that guy gets killed. He gets shot in the face. Oh, nope.
Now we're going to investigate who killed him. Now we have to go find that person because he was a nice guy.
Oh, I screwed up.
Oh, he gets arrested. He got arrested. It's okay.
All right. So how do you keep your players on track? Let's just say that they're doing more like an investigation type episode or adventure, and they missed a roll. You led them to a room that they know that a murder happened, and they have to find clues onto where to go to next. They roll, and everybody just does terribly. The dice aren't lucky that night. And so they didn't find the clue that you needed them to find to go on to the next part of your story. Now they're kind of stuck. They're like, all right, what do we do next? How do you fix this situation?
How do you fix this, Lee?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. What I like to do is sometimes have an NPC come in and obviously give them the answer. It could be they're at the crime scene and have a detective notice it, or a bumbling idiot accidentally hit a table or something, and then that opens or knocks down a lamp, and they had a note inside of this lamp that they hid something in there. Whatever. that might be a solution. Or even after they got done investigating the room, they get a phone call or a mysterious letter that tells them another clue saying, meet me at the docks or search the docks at midnight. So those are the players tried, but they failed with their dice, and it's not completely their fault. So, but you want to keep them on track. So doing that, it's a little cheesy, but it also can be kind of fun to do that.
I've played I've ran a couple games where it was just a simple finding a clue in a fireplace or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Is a simple item that, it was like, okay, everyone make a perception roll, and they all rolled and they all failed.
Yep.
So then they're still searching the house, like, oh, you're searching around, you do it. It's like, what else do you do? And someone says, oh, I go upstairs or I do something, So maybe I might move that clue to another area. I say, oh, you're in this new room, make
Perfect.
another roll. Or if they're in the same room, I say, hey, just make a dexterity check. And if they make it, oh, you trip on something, you fall, and you happen to fall right in front of this information that you're searching for. So I guess sometimes I give them a second roll if it's a really important information. If they fail it, then I might be like, all right, well, I got to find a different way to give it to them.
Yep.
Because just making them roll over and over and over again, it's obvious. I want to give them the clue. I need to change it up then.
Yep, and that could be kind of a little bit too obvious. I like the idea of it giving them another role, a different role instead of investigation, that they find it a different way, and in a humorous way or clever way could be fun too. But what you can actually do is they need to find this clue, and you have, say, one of your players, their character is an investigator, a detective or something. Just say that they find it, even without a roll. Just ask them, hey, what's your stats on search or investigation? And if it's pretty high, they'd say, all right, you find this next clue without a roll, because that's what would happen. Usually what you can do with rolls are if they want to find something extra, like, all right, they find the clue that they need, but now they found yet something else that's even more interesting if they made that roll or not.
That's always a good point too, is that if you have to give it to them and for them to move on,
yep,
you can make sure they have it. I think I still make them roll and say, you're going to succeed unless you roll a 1 or a failure or whatever a failure is in the game you're rolling. If you roll a failure, then something else is going to happen, or I have to give it to you a different way.
Yep.
Like something bad, it goes in the opposite direction. You get misled, but you're so good at investigating that you're going to get it anyway unless you fail.
Going on with my idea is, so they find the clue that they need, but you still have them roll investigation in this room. So let's just say that the clue says it's a map of the docks. All right, so they have the address of where they have to go to next on the docks, and then they roll investigation. They roll really well. Now they find a bunch of information that says what is being shipped at the docks. Like, oh, here's a cargo manifest. And so now they know what's being shipped. Oh, it's a bunch of heroin. So now we know, okay, now they're drug dealing. We didn't know that earlier. So now they have a little bit more information that they might not have before.
I think that's good. And if you can plan that ahead and know, this is the one they're going to get. One success, they're going to get this information, and another success, they're going to get, especially if it's an important piece of information, trying to plan that out and have it written down for them is a good point.
Another way you can give them the information is if they're not pressed for time, say that they are the detectives or the police, and they can just take hours to search this room. Just say it takes them an hour and they find it, because they're dedicated. Like, we're going to basically rip open every couch cushion, look behind every painting. We're just going to completely search this room. That's another way of doing it too. So you don't even have to have a roll. But they waste time, which is the problem. If it's a time-sensitive thing, like they have to save someone's life, but they had to spend 3 hours trying to find this clue, well, that's their punishment for not rolling well in the beginning. So like maybe they roll poorly, and then they just say, all right, now it takes you 3 hours to find it, and you do get it eventually.
Or it's like, if time sensitive, you have them roll for each hour, and it's like, okay, I'm just looking for a success. You're going to keep rolling, and every roll is an hour's search.
Perfect. Yep. Have that other solution. Also a good idea. So we gave you lots of ideas on how to do that if they missed a clue or they missed something important to keep you on your storyline.
On the storyline. And I've ran a game too where I had people go off on a tangent, such as like they meet someone, they get wrong information, they go off. I will give them a side quest until I figure out how to get them back on track to the storyline.
Yeah, I had that too, where I think I was trying to have them, the heroes, the players, chase a bad guy into the night, and they just went, no, we're not going to do that. That's dangerous. So then it's, all right, how do I get them to encounter this NPC again that they were supposed to chase? That's also, sometimes now you have to plan and improv on the fly to figure out how to loop that around. Also, sometimes you're stuck. Maybe you don't know what to do. You've tried everything and you just can't think of it right now. You can ask your players for help. That's fine. Just ask them, like, all right, what do you think I should do here? Just help me out. And that's happened as a new GM. You just kind of get stuck, like, what would happen in this situation, guys? And maybe someone that was a player that's more experienced playing just says, hey, how about this? All right, cool. That way, I mean, I really don't like it when I look around the table and everyone's struggling, all the players are struggling to figure out something I guess I made too hard. Because we're trying to have an enjoyable time. We spend hours at work doing problem solving and stuff we don't like to do. This is our leisure time. I don't want to make you work that hard for something. I guess that's my viewpoint on that.
I've been in part of games where at the end of the game we talk about what happened and be like, oh, well, this happened. What do you think about it? And they're like, oh, I think this is going to happen next. And occasionally I've had the GM go, wow, that's probably a better idea than what I have.
Yep.
I might steal some of that, and they'll take it and incorporate it in, or change the idea they had because it makes it more interesting or makes it a longer and a more epic adventure for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that way you're making it more personal to the player's character by adding in their suggestion, like, oh, your character is planning on doing it this way. Oh, I like that more than what I had written down. I'm going to change it. And as long as it keeps the story on track, that's even better because you're including that player character and their ideas.
I also want to say that keeping players on track sometimes is also keeping everyone interested in playing the game, which it can be difficult, especially if the characters all split off in a different direction, or if you have to take someone on a side quest and everyone else is just sitting around for too long. That can cause a lot of slowdown for everyone else. You want to make sure you keep everyone involved somehow.
Yeah, that can be a challenging thing to do as well. But let's talk about keeping the players on track in a more heavily story-based storyline idea, a game session, campaign session. But what do you do when you're running more of a sandbox, open world? What do you do there then?
Ooh, that one's a little more difficult.
Yeah, sandbox is you have to either do two things. One, you have to really be completely prepared. You have to have everything written out and almost every idea, what storyline you can go here that the players may or may not choose, or improv the whole thing and be good at that too.
I mean, that's what we played a lot in college with sandbox games.
Yep.
It was always just, hey, let's play a game. We got together, we played, and the GM had nothing planned.
Yeah.
And it came down to the characters kind of being able to tell him what they wanted to do for him to create a game around it.
Mm-hmm.
So a sandbox game, I think, includes the player characters more than a planned adventure does.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that.
No, I am right.
No, we this is our first fight, everybody. We've never had any disagreements ever. The only reason why I agree with you and disagree, because it depends on the GM. Everything comes down to the GM. Sometimes that GM will have a storyline and he or she will just say, all right, you just need to go to here and do here, and their characters don't matter. Me, I hate that. No, your characters have to matter, and I will write and make sure that stuff is going to happen to your character. They're going to show off their awesome ability, chances to role play, to talk for the characters to grow. I'm definitely going to plan that out.
I just think that a sandbox game is too hard to plan out everything. So it's you have to follow what the characters do in some regards. I mean, unless you're really, really good at keeping them on track.
Yeah.
Sometimes your game's going to have to change and go, I'm going to let the characters do what they're doing as long as they're all together and all kind of moving similarly in the same direction. I'm going to create the game around their direction they want to go.
And that's not a bad idea, because you're right. In a sandbox, it's real easy to say, all right, what does your character want to do? And maybe the character says something like, I want to be the fastest gun in the West. Okay. Where do you go? I go to Dodge City and challenge someone to a duel. All right. So so now you can build something around that. But now you have to make sure the other characters have something that they can also do. Maybe one character just says, they're going to Dodge City? Great. I'm going to go to a brothel while I'm there.
Yeah.
So everyone...
Usually that happens when a sandbox game, everyone kind of splits off into the town.
Yep.
And that's where it gets difficult, is bringing them all back together in a situation.
Yeah. Splitting the team? Oh, that's tough. Don't want to separate the group. Unless you want to kill them off one by one, which is also fun.
That's where you go. You challenge a guy to a duel. He says, "Meet me at noon in front of the brothel." And then the guys, the brothel is like, "Hey, I'm kicking you out right about high noon."
Mm-hmm.
And then meet up back up. They see him sparring or whatever. You still have to try to bring them together somehow.
Yep. Yeah. Bringing them back together, whether sometimes it makes sense or sometimes you're just like, and your character is also here now for whatever reason. bringing everyone back after they split up to keep them on track in a sandbox, whatever you have to do. Sometimes it makes sense, like I said. Sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't matter.
Don't be ashamed to say that. To say your character just shows up for no reason whatsoever. You are there now, because I've had that happen to me in a game, and it's okay.
Yep.
The player's fine because they get to interact with whatever's happening, and you're the GM. You're good to go because you have them all contained and back on track and back in one area.
Yep. And then you can even say to the player is, I know this doesn't make sense, but if you don't, now you can choose either to say, nope, I want to stay out of it, or your character is there because we're going to get into combat and you're not there. You're going to be sitting here as a person at the table for an hour or 2 hours, not doing anything. So that's up to you, man.
Choose wisely.
Choose. He chose poorly. Because everyone dies in the party anyway. Everyone gets killed anyway.
A random bullet shoots you. Sorry, you should have been part of the game.
Well, you should have chose not to be there, and now you get killed. Oh, man.
Oh, that was your choice.
Yep, too bad, man. All right, so that was keeping them their players on track. If you would like to send us questions, do so, rollofthedicepodcast@gmail.com, or on Facebook at Roll of the Dice. And please rate and review us. Talk to a friend about us. We're just the little guys talking about role playing.
Just a bunch of two people.
We're a bunch of two people, not even in the same room together, not even in the same state anymore. No. Dan left the beautiful land of Derry to go see
Polish
corn.
City, where I did the polka all the time.
Oh well, but what are we gonna do next time? What's the next episode?
Whoa, what is the next episode? Next episode, we are talking about how to end a campaign.
That campaign's got to end. How do you do it? How do you make it so awesome that they remember forever, 30 years later, like, that was cool, man.
You just throw the biggest monster at them and kill them.
Done and done.
That's it. That was the episode.
Oh, wow. Cool. We don't have to record that one next week.
All right. Remember, keep shaking those dice, and may your roll be true.
Da, 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 da.